relation to areas of importance in their areas of deployment, but also informed by the decisions of the Lekgotla as we move forward. Decisions of the Lekgotla are informed by the execution of the ANC manifesto that of the last election, but also they are reinforced by the January 8 statement with very clear tasks for this year in terms of what we need to do in the renewal project in terms of our theme for the year 2025. So these comrades here will field questions, but you are free to ask any other question that you would like to ask, and we think that it is of importance and relevance that you deal directly with some of our deployees and members of the NEC in their areas of deployment. The African National Congress emerges from this past weekend National Lekgotla as a united, disciplined, and forward-looking organization, resolutely focused on responding to the challenges facing the people of South Africa. This National Executive Committee, Lekgotla, which brought together ANC, South African Communist Party, COSATU, and SANCO leaders, including cadres and activists of the mass democratic movement, reaffirmed our movement's commitment to its historic mission, advancing the aspirations of the people and realizing the promise of a democratic, just, and inclusive South Africa. The deliberations were robust, reflective, and thoughtful, drawing on critical lessons from the past while charting a course for the future. The ANC is a resilient organization, firmly rooted in the understanding that our struggle for a better South Africa is a work in progress. And we are resolute in our efforts to address the economic, social, and political challenges we face. The Lekgotla endorsed a series of specific resolutions, each one rooted in the lived experiences of our people and designed to address the most pressing issues of the day. We are determined to ensure that the ANC remains a responsive, people-centered movement that is in touch with the realities of South Africans on the ground. The Lekgotla highlighted the importance of unity and cohesion, for we understand that only a united ANC and its alliance partners will be able to effectively implement the resolutions we have adopted. A cohesive ANC, firmly grounded in the values and principles of the Freedom Charter, will be the driving force behind the transformation that our country so desperately needs. The ANC has entered a critical phase of renewal, one that is focused on revitalizing the organization and ensuring that it remains rooted in the people's struggles and aspirations. Central to this renewal is a commitment to rebuilding the ANC as a united, ethical, and disciplined organization, capable of meeting the challenges of our time. The Lekgotla highlighted several key resolutions aimed at strengthening the movement, with a focus on expanding membership, deepening political education, and ensuring that the ANC remains a home for all South Africans, especially the working class, poor, and marginalized. A key decision during the Lekgotla was the emphasis on raising the quality of ANC leadership and membership, expanding our presence, especially among the youth, professionals, and workers, will remain vital to the movement's future. The ANC is committed to campaigns to recruit and retain members who are committed to the vision, mission, and values of the movement. This will not only ensure that the ANC continues to have a broad base of support, but also that it remains a dynamic organization that can effectively respond to the changing needs and concerns of the people. The ANC will invest in campaigns that attract new members and provide platforms for dialogue, debate, and unity within the movement. Political education remains a central pillar of ANC renewal. The Lekgotla resolved to place renewed emphasis on the ongoing education and ideological development of all members. The ANC recognizes that a strong, ideologically grounded movement is essential for navigating the complexities of the modern political and social landscape. Therefore, the ANC will prioritize political education that engages with the contemporary issues affecting South Africans, including economic transformation, social justice, and governance. The ANC will also strengthen the development of cadres who are well versed in the ANC's history, principles, and mission, ensuring that all members are equipped to defend and advance the movement's goals. This commitment to ideological clarity will ensure that the ANC remains a relevant force for transformation in South African politics, unafraid to confront difficult questions and offer solutions that are in the best interest of the people. ANC renewal is about more than just expanding membership or engaging in political education. It is about creating an organization that is intellectually rigorous, accountable, and ready to confront the challenges of today with the same courage and vision that guided the movement's founders. Through these efforts, the ANC will continue to be the leader of society, advocating for the transformation of South Africa into a just, democratic, and prosperous society for all. With regard to commitment to energy security and infrastructure development, one of the key resolutions from this Lekgotla is the urgent need to accelerate energy security, starting with the stabilization of Eskom. We welcome the work achieved thus far to stabilize energy availability with over 300 days of uninterrupted supply of electricity. We once more thank the team of patriotic South Africans working at Eskom for their dedication in resolving this issue under the leadership of the Minister of Energy and Electricity. The ANC has committed to a bold plan to address the energy availability, including expediting the rollout of renewable energy as part of a just energy transition. Eskom's challenges are being resolved, and it will contribute to economic recovery, industrialization, and job creation. We welcome the work being done with local government and Eskom to resolve the challenges of debt and load reductions. In addition to energy security, the Lekgotla stressed the importance of addressing infrastructure backlogs in critical areas such as water, sanitation and transportation, roads and rail. We resolved to prioritize investments in these sectors, particularly in rural and underserved communities, where many people still lack access to basic services. A dedicated task team in government will oversee the development and maintenance of water resource systems to ensure that all communities have access to clean and potable water. The existence of water tank mafias, illegal connections, and vandalizing of infrastructure must be tackled without any reservations. This will also include tackling the inefficiencies and corruption that often delay service delivery. The ANC understands that infrastructure is a vital pillar of economic growth, and we are committed to ensuring that all South Africans, regardless of where they live, have access to the services they need. on economic transformation and fighting unemployment. Economic transformation remains a key focus area of the ANC Lekgotla. Lekgotla deliberations centered around the issues of consolidating the mass employment programs, financial sector transformation, the digital economy, and the new industrial policy approach. We have a range of public employment programs, for instance, EPWP, CWP, youth service, etc. But these are disjointed and not making the full impact required, given the unemployment crisis we face. The Lekgotla therefore received a report on the review of all these programs, with a view to consolidating to an overall nationwide and multi-sectoral mass employment program that has scale and impact. The Lekgotla reaffirmed our commitment to an inclusive economy where economic opportunities are accessible to all, particularly the youth, women, and rural communities, who have historically been excluded from meaningful economic participation. The ANC is committed to creating an economy that works for all citizens, with a focus on job creation and industrialization in key sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, construction, mineral beneficiation, digital economy, and the green economy. We're also focusing on reducing youth unemployment by introducing targeted skills development programs, ensuring that young people are equipped with the skills needed to thrive in a rapidly changing global economy. Young people have an advantage in the digital age, and we will ensure that our education and skills provide them with the skills for the digital economy, as well as continue to reduce the cost of data and bridging the digital divide. Our economic vision also includes supporting small, medium, and macro enterprises, SMMEs. The ANC understands that these businesses are the backbone of the economy, and we are committed to creating an enabling environment for them to thrive. Through targeted support, including access to finance, training, and markets, we will empower SMMEs to create jobs and contribute to South Africa's economic growth. The resolution to focus on economic empowerment, particularly for women and youth, will create a fairer and more equitable economy for all South Africans. A number of laws to facilitate SME development, such as the National Small Enterprise Amendment Act and the Public Procurement Act, have been enacted. And there is a strengthened legal framework to advance SMMEs, cooperatives, and the township and village economy. Lekgotla also welcomed the ascending into law of the Expropriation Act, which will be utilized to ensure security of tenure, accelerate land claims along with the now full-time land claims court, and speeding up land redistribution for agriculture and housing. Revitalizing public transport and PRASA, rebuilding rail networks and logistics. A major focus of the Lekgotla was the urgent need to revitalize South Africa's public transport systems, particularly the rail network. The Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, PRASA, is a key player in ensuring affordable, reliable, and efficient public transport, especially for working-class South Africans who rely on trains to get to work. The ANC acknowledges the deep challenges the PRASA faces, including infrastructure decay, financial mismanagement, and security concerns that have hampered its service delivery. In response, the Lekgotla adopted the resolution to rebuild South Africa's rail network with a clear focus on modernizing rail infrastructure, improving operational efficiency, enhancing the security of communities. We have resolved to prioritize significant investments into PRASA and other key public transport projects, particularly the rehabilitation of rail infrastructure across the country. This includes improving station facilities and enhancing security measures to ensure the safety of passengers. Furthermore, work must be done to engage with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the rail network can integrate effectively into the broader logistics and transportation framework of South Africa, enhancing connectivity between rural and urban areas, improving the overall functioning of the economy. A lot of work has been covered in relation to PRASA, and that work must continue. Modernization of the infrastructure in PRASA and revitalizing the rail network that was affected before and after COVID-19, the upgrading of security. We recognize that major corridors in the country have been revitalized and opened, and the major corridor in the Western Cape, in particular in Cape Town, the main corridor there in the central line, will be opened to all the citizens there, which have been closed for some time. That work must continue and be accelerated. The ANC's broader approach to transport reform includes addressing the inefficiencies in the logistics sector. We recognize that an efficient and well-integrated logistics system is crucial for economic growth, reducing transportation costs for businesses and improving competitiveness in both local and global markets. The Lekgotla emphasized the need for government to work with private sector partners to address key bottlenecks in South Africa's transport and logistics networks, ensuring that goods are moved efficiently, reliably, and at a reduced cost. Government have adopted the rail policy, which empowers government and the private sector to work together to accelerate the revitalization of the logistics network, particularly with regard to rail, and taking further in terms of implementation the policy of ANC of moving from road to rail in order to bring about efficiency in terms of the rail network and logistics in the country. Strengthening local government for better services and delivery. The Lekgotla recognized the critical role that local government plays in the lives of South Africans. The effectiveness of municipalities in delivering services such as water, sanitation, and housing is fundamental to improving the quality of life for all citizens. However, many municipalities are struggling with inefficiency, corruption, and a lack of capacity. In response, the ANC has adopted a series of resolutions aimed at strengthening local government and improving service delivery. Our local government team will strengthen to work with municipalities to address service delivery backlogs and ensure that citizens in all areas, especially rural and underserved regions, receive the services they need. This will include improving the governance and management of municipalities, ensuring that officials are held accountable for service delivery failures, and making sure that resources are used efficiently. The ANC is committed to increasing the capacity of municipalities through the district development model to deliver quality services and ensuring that municipalities have the necessary resources, systems, and personnel in place to function effectively. The ANC Lekgotla also resolved to invest in the political and administrative leadership at the local government level. By focusing on building the leadership capacity of local government officials, will ensure that the municipalities are better equipped to address the needs of their communities. Stronger leadership and effective governance at local government will improve service delivery and contribute to the overall goal of creating a better South Africa for all. Lekgotla also welcomes the process of review of the local architecture and the funding model. An example in this instance is our interventions and what government has done in eThekwini municipality. the ANC deployed one of its best cadres in Comrade Cyril Xaba, a former member of the National Assembly, a member of the National Executive Committee, to stabilize eThekwini. And you can see for yourselves, you had wonderful holidays in Durban this past December, because of the efforts and the focused leadership of Cyril Xaba, working with the collective in eThekwini. This is the model we seek to employ across our municipalities, to intervene and, if necessary, bring outside deployment to ensure effectiveness of the municipalities going forward in the different provinces. Investing in people, education, health, and research development. Investing in the education, health, and well-being of our people, alongside the research and development, remains central to the ANC's vision for national development and economic growth. The ANC is committed to ensuring that every South African has access to quality education and health care, and that our research and development efforts drive innovation and sustainable progress. We reaffirm our commitment to the National Development Plan target of gross expenditure in research and development reaching 1.1% of GDP, with contribution from state-owned enterprises, the public sector, and private entities. This focus on research and development will be vital for building a competitive, knowledge-driven economy that can create sustainable jobs and respond to the complex challenges we face. In line with the ANC manifesto, we will prioritize early childhood development as a foundation for lifelong learning. The ANC believes that investing in ECD is one of the most effective ways to break the cycle of poverty and ensure that every child has the opportunity to succeed. We'll also continue to focus on improving the quality of learning and teaching in public schools, with an emphasis on expanding bilingual education in mother tongues to ensure better outcomes for learners across the country. Furthermore, the ANC remains dedicated to improving schools' infrastructure, especially in rural and under-resourced areas, to ensure that every student has access to a safe, conducive learning environment. These are fundamental building blocks for producing skilled, capable citizens who can contribute to the growth and prosperity of our nation. The post-school education and training sector will be a key driver of our human capital development agenda. The ANC is committed to expanding opportunities for post-school education as outlined in the latest National Skills Plan 2024. To this end, we will accelerate the expansion of technical and vocational education and training, TVET institutions, to meet the NDP target of 2.5 million places. We will ensure that the curriculum offerings at these institutions align with the needs of the economy, focusing on sectors that can drive growth, such as renewable energy, agriculture, and information technology. The ANC also acknowledges the need to address critical issues such as the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS funding, the availability of student accommodation, and the challenge of graduate unemployment, particularly in the health sector. These issues will be tackled head-on to ensure that more young people, especially those who are disadvantaged from disadvantaged backgrounds, can access higher education and enter the workforce with the skills they need. With the skills they need that provides universal access to quality care for all South Africans. This year, we will focus on improving public health infrastructure, tackling HIV and TB, and addressing the challenges within the healthcare workforce. Of particular concern is the alarming increase in HIV infections among young people, particularly adolescent girls, and the troubling rise in teenage pregnancies. The ANC has resolved to prioritize education campaigns that promote safe sexual practices and health literacy, alongside providing better access to sexual and reproductive health services. We'll ensure that interventions are designed to empower young people to make informed choices, and will work with communities to combat the social and economic factors that contribute to these issues. The Basic Education Laws Amendment, BELA Act, which seeks to provide a more inclusive, fair and accountable system, was also highlighted during the Lekgotla as key tool for advancing educational transformation. The BELA Act aims to strengthen governance in schools, promote inclusivity for learners with disabilities, and ensure that every child's right to quality education is upheld. The ANC will continue to push for the full implementation of this act, ensuring that it achieves its intended outcomes. The ANC reaffirms that investment in people is the cornerstone of the nation's future and prosperity. By prioritizing quality education, accessible health care, and a robust research and development framework, we will build a society where every citizen can realize their full potential. Our commitment to these goals is unwavering, and we will work tirelessly to ensure that the youth, women, and all South Africans benefit from these transformative investments. The ANC extends its condolences to the families of the South African National Defence Force soldiers who tragically lost their lives in the Democratic Republic of Congo as part of the United Nations mission deployed in the Eastern DRC. These brave men and women paid the ultimate price in their service to peace and security on the African continent. The ANC salutes their courage, dedication, and sacrifice in the fight for peace and stability. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families during this difficult time, and we wish a swift recovery to those injured in the attack. As a nation, we stand together in support of the SANDF and the families who have lost loved ones in this incident. In line with the United Nations and the African Union resolutions and protocols on peacekeeping, we call on the United Nations Security Council to act on the attacks against UN peacekeepers and the violation of the fundamental principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity enshrined in the UN Charter. To this end, we have been made aware that the President of the country have been engaged with different presidents in the region to discuss, among others, ceasefire and also the Troika meeting that must take place before end of the week. And to this extent, the Ministry of Defense and the Minister tomorrow will brief the nation in terms of the details of what happened, that we lost about 13 soldiers in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We are aware that there's been sweeping statements in the public domain, and some very much uninformed. And in this instance, it is important that government must deal with this matter. We act with utmost sensitivity on this issue because it is only the Defense Force that must lead in informing the families of the deceased in this regard. And we await a full briefing on the details in relation to what happened in the DRC, and that our government must do everything in their power to ensure the support and the safety of our soldiers in the Democratic Republic of Congo, of which this is the mission that our president is leading. And at the right time, the president will take the nation into confidence about what happened in the DRC. Our soldiers in the DRC are there for a peacekeeping mission. They are not acting alone. They are acting with others within the realm of the United Nations and SADC. We have done that in many other countries in this particular instance. And there are military protocols when it comes to armaments that guide nations that lead peacekeeping missions in this regard. So sweeping statements that our soldiers are unarmed and all of that, we defer to government to answer in this regard. And we have been assured by the minister that this will happen tomorrow. The Minister of Defense will brief the nation, and I think for all the questions that you've got, they will be directed to the ministry and the high command of our military to clarify, not just civilians who just make sweeping statements in the public domain without first being clarified from the horse's mouth about what is happening out there. So it's better to comment whilst being informed, not that people don't have information on their own right, given the era of technology and social media and all of that. But let's do that with the right people and be informed about what is happening out there. We are very much, as the ANC, also concerned about the situation and the safety of the peacekeepers as well as our soldiers in the DRC. In terms of the fight against crime, corruption, and GBV, the Lekgotla noted that the South African peace and stability environment is facing a challenging period characterized by the threats of crime, terrorism, and illegal migration, worsened by the scourge of corruption and inefficiencies across government departments and state-owned agencies. The scourge of gender-based violence and femicide continues to be persistent and stubborn in the South African landscape. We then resolved in terms of reform and integration and modernize the criminal justice system, that we need to capacitate all role players within criminal justice value chain through human resources and system integration. In terms of border management, we need to invest in technology and modernize border management work through introduction of biometric systems, including electronic traveler authorization. We need to secure the cyberspace and invest in the development of key legislative platforms, institutional establishment, and capacity building in partnership with private sector role players. In terms of increased safety in the communities, particularly for women and children, we need to robustly implement the integrated crime and violence prevention strategy across all communities and develop an accountability metrics across all clusters. In terms of combating priority offenses such as economic, commercial, and organized crime and corruption, we said we need to effectively synchronize investigative and prosecutorial efforts in addressing all priority offenses and ensure protection of whistleblowers. On international relations and solidarity, as South Africa continues to solidify its role as global leader, the ANC affirms its role and commitment to the country's G20 presidency. The G20 platform provides South Africa with an unparalleled opportunity to advocate for the interest of the global South, particularly in addressing issues such as climate change, sustainable development, and equitable global economic governance. South Africa will use its G20 presidency to advance initiatives that promote multilateralism, global cooperation, and inclusive economic growth, particularly in the areas of financing for development and poverty eradication. The ANC remains steadfast in its support for BRICS, which continues to be a critical pillar of South Africa's foreign policy. BRICS provides an important platform for emerging economies to reshape global governance systems in ways that reflect the realities of multipolar world. The ANC will continue to work within BRICS to promote a fairer global order where the voices of the global South are heard and respected. Our continued partnership with BRICS nations will be a driving force in advocating for the reform of international institutions like the United Nations Security Council and the International Monetary Fund, ensuring that these bodies better reflect the interests of developing nations. Looking ahead, the ANC will further engage in initiatives that strengthen South Africa's role in international affairs. This includes hosting the Liberation Movement Summit in 2025 and commemorating the 70th anniversary of the Bandung Conference. We remain committed to advancing South-to-South cooperation, strengthening Africa's presence on the global stage, and building alliances that support peace, prosperity, and shared development. South Africa's strategic positioning within the G20 and BRICS will play a crucial role in shaping the future of global politics and economics. On the battle of ideas, ensuring transformation agenda for all South Africans. The ANC's battle of ideas is about ensuring that the movement's transformative agenda is understood by society and embraced by all sectors, from the poor and the working class to the youth and the middle class. At the core of this battle is the need for the ANC to be a movement that speaks to the aspirations of all South Africans, particularly those who have historically been marginalized. The Lekgotla emphasized that the ANC must clearly articulate how its policies and actions will uplift all South Africans and how each section of society, including the youth, workers, and the middle class, can see their dreams and aspirations reflected in the ANC's work. A central focus of the battle of ideas is ensuring that the poor, the youth, and the working class are actively engaged in the ANC's vision for economic transformation. So the ANC is about transformation. Even in the GNU, the ANC is about transformation. The ANC is not about rubber stamping the past. It's about changing the past. And that did not end with our ascendancy to political power in 1994. That simply enabled us and give us opportunities to have access over state levers of power to advance the agenda of transformation. So we are not apologetic about people's interest. Because when we talk revolution and many other things, people tend to be confused. But essentially, a revolution is about people's interest, which is about what the ANC is advancing. What are those people's interests? Underdevelopment, poverty, and unemployment. And for us to advance these people's interest, we need to transform. And transformation is about legislation. Transformation is about intervening strategically in many ways to ensure that we realize what should and will be in the people's interest. And that is what is important. Mutsualedi is here. I'm sure you'll ask him about NHI. He will clarify that is people's interest. And the Makwingwana is here. You'll ask him about crime. It's about people's interest. Mamluko, Of course, you'll ask her about the economy, but also she's in the justice cluster and all of that. You'll ask her about all of these things which are in the people's interest. So to ask the question of transformation and transformation is non-negotiable. The Lekgotla resolved that the ANC will work towards ensuring that the media serves as a platform for factual, evidence-based reporting that reflects the true progress being made in society. It means we've got to engage in the battle of ideas. And so that battle of ideas is not amorphous. And it doesn't mean that we share the same perspective with the fourth estate in our country. And it is out of robust engagement and understanding where we come from that you'll understand where the ANC is going. So that is why we emphasize the point that the ANC will speak for itself. You can have your sources, it's fine, but the ANC will speak for itself when it comes to people's interest and national interest, what we are doing for the people and how we are advancing the cause. And we seek to build a relationship with the media and broadly society in terms of the national debate to enable ourselves a positioning in which we can be understood where we come from on a range of issues. Today we're talking about expropriation of land. We believe some don't understand us, and that is why we'll be talking even with our partners in the GNU so that they understand us, where we come from as the ANC on this matter. It's not just matters of process, that somebody did not understand the process and all of that. Is about fundamental to us, transformation. But over and above that, that transformation is not swart khafar. It's not a danger to anybody. It's about this principle of inclusivity. We're talking about, when we talk about people's interest in terms of advancing transformation in South Africa. The process must include and reignite hope among citizens of this engagement. Among the areas that should be discussed, we believe, is the economy and jobs, poverty, governance, crime, nation building, advancing constitutional rights, participatory democracy, and the land reform. The ANC will work with the Alliance MDM and progressive civil society to participate in a meaningful and a coherent way, building consensus on a whole range of issues in terms of the national dialogue. On the 70th of the Freedom Charter, finally, the Lekgotla reflected on the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, a seminal moment in our history that serves as a reminder of the vision of the free, non-racial, democratic, and prosperous South Africa. This milestone provides us with an opportunity to reflect on our progress, recommit to the ideals set out by the people in 1955, and galvanize efforts towards realizing these goals. As we look to the future, the ANC remains resolute in its commitment to building a South Africa that belongs to all, rooted in equality and human dignity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. At this point, I will turn to you, colleagues, for questions. Okay, I'm going to start this side. I see Zianda, followed by Sunday World, and followed by SABC. As well as yourself, my sister. Let me take those four hands as part of the first round.
Thank you very much. It's Diana from Regional Africa. Thank you very much to the Secretary General for confirming the briefing by the Defense Minister tomorrow, but I want to find out from the ANC whether or not you're satisfied with how long it's taken your deployees and the government to actually take the nation into its confidence, given the fact that you yourself have acknowledged that in that absence there's a lot of miscommunication and a false understanding of the real situation. It's quite a dire situation at hand. And then today, the DA held a briefing, they've expressed their dissatisfaction with how the ANC has handled the assenting of the Expropriation Act into law. And they've basically made another threat to say that, it's not impossible for them to leave the GNU. So how much can you really afford to have the DA leaving the GNU from the perspective of being able to pass budgets, for an example?
Thank you. Sunday Well.
Thanks. My name is Mbalula from the Sunday World. It's very hot, yes. Anyway, I like also the tag by the premier. It's nice since he became principal, he dresses up like the real principal. No, just a joke. Ice breaking.
Well received.
As you with regards to the situation in the Eastern DRC, I know about peacekeeping machine, blah, blah, blah. What interests of ours as South Africa are our soldiers representing there? Just leave the peacekeeping, but interests that are of South Africans, me and the 62 million others. And then with regards to the issues of sending the pressure to municipalities is relevant because the next big battle is the local government elections. You made an example about the mayor of Italy and the Senate Club. Is that likely to expand? We would like to see companies like Zoho being sent to Winnie Mandela local municipality to be a mayor there as well. Just making an example also, but I think you get the gist of my point. Is that what we're likely to see? Where now is no longer a case where if you're an ANC member, your best shot is being a minister. Are we likely to see it transcending into as the lowest municipalities? And then, and then the other thing is that I noted with concern from your statement. In fact, generally in the ANC lexicon these days, after this meeting, you barely speak about SOEs in the broader scheme of things. Yes, you touch.
These are current live proceedings there from the NC's media briefing pertaining to the outcomes of the Lekgotla that is currently taking place out in Boksburg at the back of that 113th birthday celebrations that we saw in recent weeks there out in Cape Town. So this is a Q&A session where the media is currently asking questions, and we're just struggling with audio from the questions there. So we will be providing you with the responses from that delegation. As you can see there, quite a delegation that is being led by SG Fikile Mbalula there. I can spot among them Senzo Mkhunu there. I can also spot that is, of course, Mahlengu Bengu that is currently on the podium facilitating that Q&A session. So quite a lot that Mbalula took those media attendants through during this particular briefing. Issues of course, job creation and, of course, the renewal that is touted to take place among the ANC. Let's try and listen into some of the responses.
Following up on Mawande's question, successive South African presidents have been involved in the peacekeeping mission negotiations in the Great Lakes region, particularly from Mbeki, Zuma, Kgalema, Cyril Ramaphosa at this point in time. What is really South Africa's interest in that particular region, noting the number of South African business people who have business interests in that country, and some of them have that particular lineage to the political elites of the ruling party? Then, to Mr. Senzo Mkhunu, in your capacity as the Minister of Police, crime intelligence is a mess. You issued out a letter holding and freezing all posts within crime intelligence. How far are you within that process of sorting out the problems that are faced with crime intelligence, and reports that crime intelligence is the one that funded the murder of the former ANC Youth League Secretary General Cindy Somakaka? On Provincial Commissioner Mkhwanazi, there have been reports on him. What is your current relationship with the Provincial Commissioner Mkhwanazi? Do you believe in the allegations, or what is the standpoint on the allegations that are currently made against Provincial Commissioner Mkhwanazi in the province of KwaZulu-Natal? And then lastly, the relationship with Fikile, the current police commissioner, is he most likely to finish his tenure in that position, or are you looking elsewhere at replacing the national commissioner? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll move aside.
All right, of course, those are questions that are being posed to the ANC's Lekgotla panel there. Issues pertaining to the deaths of the now, we understand, revised figures around the South African National Defence Force members that have been killed. We understand so far it's about 13. That figure has since been revised from 9 that was actually reported over the weekend. So there has been a lot of questions pertaining to what exactly is the interest of South African soldiers currently fighting in the DRC. And of course, that thorny issue of the NHI, as we understand, pressure is currently growing for compromise ahead, of course, of the cabinet meeting. And we know that, of course, the DA has made a pronouncement pertaining to the fact that it is not currently a stable environment for any proposals of the NHI to actually also be signed into law as well as being implemented. As you've seen in the past previous days, the president has signed in quite a few bills into law, shaking some feathers here and there, particularly when it comes to the expropriation bill, which we understand has now since been touted to be taken under legal review by various political parties. And also we know that the DA has been asking for a total reset of their current arrangement within the government of national unity with the ANC. So a lot, of course, expected from the ANC to answer pertaining to some of these key and critical questions. Let's continue listening in.
Questions along those lines, and including our deployment approach. Comrade Dixon Masemola, if you could take that particular question. And then there is a matter of the Expropriation Act. Any of the two, Comrade Phoebe or David, could attend to that. Related to the narrative that is being advanced by the Democratic Alliance. And then there's the question about SOEs. The chair of the ETC would respond to that. And then the SABC question on our view regarding Rwanda. I think it falls into the same basket, Comrade Kinsan. About our view on Rwanda in relation to the comments made by our ambassador. Similarly, what are the South African interests in that region, in the Great Lakes? And last but not least, Comrade Senzo will then deal with all matters related to crime.
And there's AIDS mutuality.
Oh yes.
Impact
Trump.
on the 90 days.
Yes, in terms of the PEFA and all of the implications on the grant of aid on stance that has been taken by the U.S. administration. Comrade Motsoaledi will do that. He will be the last person. The SG will then comment after that.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mahleng. Good afternoon, comrades. I think the first one, let me start with the issue around SOEs, the ETC matters, then come to the security. I'm into last now. The first one around the SOEs, we haven't stopped talking about SOEs, and there's no decision by the NC to privatize any of our SOEs. What we have tended to do, because we always have focused attention, so there is work that we are doing across, but what we have done is to go into zooming in into those SOEs that we need to do work on. Like we've done previously, we've identified a problem in terms of electricity, then we'll look at the institutions around electricity. So Lekgotla was avoiding to be everywhere and having every resolution. So conference resolution stands. Now when you go to Lekgotla, you do progress report on those areas. And that's why you'd find that as we look at progress report, we zoom into the areas where needs intervention, monitor progress and pronounce on those. Not that we have dumped the other areas. So that's the first thing around how we work and how we process in terms of our areas of work. And we have not lost any confidence in any of our state entities. Actually, we believe that currently there's quite a lot of work and progress that is being done in recovering our state-owned entities. Coming to the issue of the DRC matter, firstly, if you look at the mission, it's a UN mission. So South Africa has joined UN mission, peacekeeping mission. One, in terms of funding mechanism, you'd understand that when you have a UN mission, and I see quite a lot of people publicly, they talk about funding and all that, it's done as part of a package of the UN mission. So UN will have a resolution to say we'll send a mission, peacekeeping mission, into this country, and when they do that, that's why they will do the whole package of their support, of their even their stipend and all those things. That's why they end differently even when they go there. So a mission sent by South Africa on its own and a mission sent under UN has different categories. So this one is particularly that. You'd understand that South Africa was part of or led in terms of the discussion of peace in terms of DRC at the time when President Kabila took over. The negotiations were in Gauteng. So following that, as part of sustainability of ensuring that peacekeeping mission continues, that has been the issue. The unfortunate part is that peace has not been fulfilled or has not been realized over time, and the issues around interventions, that's why the mission remain, peacekeeping mission remain. Because we have agreed and we are approached by UN to join the mission, you don't just pull out as South Africa. So you continue to fall in. So the conversation will be with all the other countries that have sent missions or sent their soldiers at the DRC as part of the conversation led by the UN. In relation to our representative, I think the President and President Kagame spoke. You would have seen a communique from the President saying that they have conversed. I don't think we haven't received as the ANC a communique that says from government point of view, we do not have good relations because Rwanda is part of that. The conversation between all the heads of states as it's communicated currently is that there must be ceasefire. And it will be verified with government and president when he addresses, and Minister Mbalula can clarify that. But from where we are sitting, we do not have information that says this is what is happening in Rwanda and therefore this is what Rwanda has done. It will have to be official from government, but also UN will be leading in that regard if such happens. It will not be South Africa because it's a mission that is led by trade. On the business interest, let me just clarify. One of the issues that we do, you'd understand that we go to all countries and participate in trade. And that's why South Africa and the entire continent had agreed on African free trade. So you cannot say that in this country, business are not there. And I think Samkelo, when he speaks about people who are aligned, you would have to share SG with you. Who are those? Our understanding as the ANC is that when we go to, for example, state visits, when we go to business engagements with countries, we go there on the basis of opening opportunities for South African business into those countries. And it's for everybody. So the business delegation, and it's not only on the continent, it's even in Asia. As we went to China with the TICAD, we would have taken business and business engagement there with business companies, South African companies going to China to look for business opportunities. Similarly, when other countries come to the continent and come to us, they will come with their business people, companies to look for opportunities. So where we are sitting as ANC, our understanding is that those who are doing business in DRC are doing it like any other country in terms of business opportunities. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Comrade Mahlengi, and a very good afternoon to members of the media. With regard to matters relating to local government in this country, the African National Congress places a very huge premium on matters of local government precisely because
of its centrality and importance with regard to the responses to the socio-economic conditions of our people in the country, given the need for provision of basic services, the need to contribute towards the overall national development plan, which obviously all those processes happens at the local government level. It becomes extremely important for the ANC, and hence the Lekgotla took a very firm posture, appreciating the position and the role of the ANC in this sphere of government, what I could call in the theater of local government, with regard to matters of policy, matters of legislation, the role that the ANC plays and play in society, and generally the extent to which it will have to work very closely with many social formations for social progress. The African National Congress believes very strongly that for us to attain social capital, the extent to which that would have to characterize social progress, but most importantly, how we change the living conditions of our people. We believe that capable and as well as experienced cadres of the movement who would appreciate the centrality of organizing continuously a broad fronts at the municipal level, a fronts that will basically look at both formal and as well as non-budget resource mobilization for actual intensification of the work to be done at the local government level. These processes requires the ANC that is very much renewed in its approach and appreciation of the role of municipal government. The Lekgotla, in its discussions and decisions at the end, the ANC was very much certain that out of the experiences that we have learned recently, for instance, of what the Secretary General has just referred to as our intervention in eThekwini Metropolitan Municipality, where a senior cadre of the movement was deployed, it actually beckons on the ANC to make sure that with greater social conscience and ingenuity, we must consider going forward deployment of very senior, if not capable cadres of the movement, because this level or sphere of government, it is extremely important, if not very central. We have learned out of the 29th May 2024 national elections that if society and communities are not very happy about performance of our government, and greatly at the municipal level, we stand to basically receive very reduced electoral fortunes on net as a consequence of our inability, precisely because of some weaknesses in the system that Lekgotla was able to analyze and assess and take a very strong point. Out of these issues, I fully concur with the question that was posed here, that the ANC believes very strongly that what we have learned out of eThekwini Metro, we're basically already in discussions with comrades and colleagues in Mangaung municipality. We've already had discussions and very clear attention to Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, and of course other metropolitan municipalities. We've already agreed with the President that early March we'll be here in Johannesburg to interact with the provincial government, including the city of Johannesburg. Thereafter, we'll engage with the city of Tshwane. Understandably, the firm view that we have taken is that all our metros, including secondary cities in this country, including the extended to some districts which constitute very serious economic characteristics of economic development and therefore injection going into the future. All those areas remains and continues to be engines of our economic development, and therefore the state and the conditions of our municipalities and the extent to which the political systems, the political leadership that will have to reinforce the administrative capacities but largely bring closer active civil participation of our communities remains uppermost in the work of the African National Congress. So oppose this Lekgotla, as we'll be going into cabinet, as deployees of the ANC, understandably, we'll have to make sure that through robust engagement and discussions, we find the ways and means on how this renewed vigor and thinking, like I said, with greater social conscience, which obviously even other parties that are part of the government of national unity would appreciate and understand the need for a very effective, if not efficient, local government system, because that in itself will make the citizens of this country much happy. As I conclude, these matters necessitated the ANC's different approach in terms of discussions and posture, precisely because half of the population in this country resides in 17 municipalities. You can imagine if we can be in a better position to impact those municipalities greatly on matters of leadership, on matters of governance, stabilization of our politics, the business enterprise, how we're going to be undertaking provision of services. Almost overnight, half of the population will be very much certain and happy about the conditions under which they find themselves in. And therefore the ANC remains unapologetic in its renewed vigor and approach on how do we position leadership, because leadership plays a very important role. You can see in eThekwini, we only changed one office of the mayor with what has been existing there, both at the political level, including even administratively. But the impact of that individual working together with the rest of the comrades and colleagues that he found on site, they have fundamentally changed the complexion and the complexities of that situation on the right direction. It's a new philosophical basis and understanding that will drive our transformation and therefore repositioning of our municipal government going forward in this country. We want to assure South Africans that local government of tomorrow would not necessarily be the same as what might have happened in the previous few years. We have learned lessons. We fully understand and appreciate all those negativities and basically disappointments that might have happened. And where we are at the moment, as we move into the future, we are actually occasioned for greater performance and effective delivery of services, informed and guided by much needed political leadership that will find its resonance on how it translates into the efficacy of the social systems of the administration. Thank you very much, Comrade Mahlengi.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. On the question about the Expropriation Act and the possibility of the DA leaving the Government of National Unity, I mean, the Expropriation Act was passed by Parliament before the elections during the 6th administration. The President had to go, as with all laws, through the process of looking at the constitutionality of the Expropriation Act. It was found to be constitutional and the President signed it. And that's the case with a number of other pieces of legislation that were passed by Parliament before, but just had to be signed by the President. One of the issues about the statement of intent that forms the foundation of the Government of National Unity is its foundational principles. And one of the foundational principles is the rule of law, that we must respect the Constitution and we must respect the rule of law. The President can't, after Parliament pass a law, unless it's unconstitutional, can't then say that he's not going to sign the law or that he's going to negotiate about different aspects of it because somebody feels that they're not happy with it. It's been passed by Parliament, and this is the approach that's been followed. Like with the Bella Act, there's a lot of disinformation that's going around the Expropriation Act, and I think that as the media, we should, together with government and political parties, educate people about what the Expropriation Act is about. It's mainly aimed at looking at how do we accelerate land reform. And we know that there are 3 aspects of land reform: land tenure, land claims, and then land redistribution. We tried to amend Section 25 as per our conference resolution. We didn't manage to get a 2/3 to do that. And the Expropriation Act is therefore the next step to be able to ensure that we accelerate these 3 parts of land reform. There was an Expropriation Act of 1975, in addition to what they had in 1913 and 1936, and the Group Areas Act, to be able to remove people from their land. The Expropriation Act is to provide the legal framework of how government can ensure that it address issues of land tenure better, learning from the experience of the last 30 years, but also look at how do we free up land for housing, how do we free up land for agriculture, particularly small-scale agriculture, and in a real sense address the historical injustice which our Constitution enables us to do, and in fact see it as part of the foundation. this thing about leaving the government of national unity is a bit like, what is it, the little boy crying wolf. And I think that by the time that you really implement and there's really a wolf, you may find that nobody is listening because you've cried wolf so many times. That's all I'll say about that. A general point about South African peacekeeping, if you can recall in 1994, the approach that we followed towards the African continent and the African agenda and peacekeeping in the continent was that the continent for a very long time have been focused on the struggle against apartheid in South Africa and Namibia. We were the last to get free in 1994, which means that with the apartheid issue resolved, it provided an opportunity to look at the serious conflicts that were going on there in the continent at the time. If you can remember Sudan, that was one of the early issues that South Africa got involved in. But over the 30 years, we've been involved in Burundi. After President Nyerere from Tanzania asked President Mandela to take over from him, we were part of the Burundi peace process. We've been part of the process in the DRC. It's not the first time. We've been involved in the DRC since before 1996. Libya is another example. Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa had to play a role. And not just in the African continent. I mean, we've been asked to assist in Northern Ireland, Sri Lanka, East Timor, what is the other place now? Of course, Palestine, that we are involved in an ongoing basis. So the role of South Africa in peace talks and peace missions is based on a document that this year we will be celebrating 70 years, where we said that there shall be peace and friendship. And that's what South African foreign policy is about, that where, as part of the international community of nations, we participate in peacekeeping missions. Secondly, we understand that South Africa can't isolate itself from the rest of the continent, because it expresses itself, if there's a problem in Mozambique, it expresses itself in migration to Mozambique from DRC and other parts of the continent. So there's a link, and your question about what it means for the 62 million South Africans, it means that we have to look at peace and security in a broader regional context in order to make sure that we have peace and security, and we can address the push factor that force people to leave their countries because of instabilities and problems. So that's really the context of our peacekeeping, and our mission in the DRC, together with MONUSCO as well as the SADC mission, is part of that continuity of a policy that started since 1994. What will our inputs be in the Lekgotla? I think the lady from SABC question. The government Lekgotla will look at both what should go into the 2025-2026 program of government, but also to adopt the medium-term development plan for the 7th administration. And that is why the statement that the Secretary General read dealt with nearly every aspect of governance and the priorities that will go into the medium-term development plan, from what we will do about crime and GBV to education, health, to the economy, and particular focus on industrialization, investment over the coming 5 years in infrastructure, as well as issues with regards to water, energy security, as well as international relations. So our input to the Lekgotla outcomes is really what our deployees will be taking to the government Lekgotla. And that is based on the 3 priorities which the President last year in the opening of Parliament set for the 7th administration, which is inclusive economic growth and jobs. It is addressing the costs of living and tackling poverty. And then, of course, the third one is to build a capable, developmental and ethical state. So that is our input into the government Lekgotla. And the fact that we once again met together with our alliance partners, as the SGC said, is part of making sure that we have unity of purpose. And those ANC members that, from the President to the ministers to our premiers, that are part of the government of national unity and leading provincial governments, that is the mandate that they have to take into the the cabinet Lekgotla, but also the provincial Lekgotla that will follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mahlengi, and to everybody here and the SG. Number one, on crime intelligence, the Ministry of Police regards crime intelligence as one of the key components in policing, not only in South Africa, everywhere else. And we take that component very seriously, to a point where it has been identified as one of the priorities, together with technology in policing, outstanding dockets in the detective section, and forensics, because they are key enablers in improving policing and making sure that we have impact that is desired. Now, our areas of focus include murder, the murder rate, which we want to reduce, rape, drugs, proliferation of firearms, both legal and illegal. If we are to achieve any progress or make any progress on this, we need these enablers to assist us to get the organization to a better position. And that's why they've been identified as priorities. Now, we've had several discussions, of course, not only on crime intelligence, but on all these areas. And on crime intelligence specifically, we have had quite a number of discussions, and they are ongoing within the ministry. And these discussions that we are having on an ongoing basis, but also with the National Commissioner, are time-bound. In other words, we are not holding them forever and ever. They are time-bound, and at some point, at a time when we are ready, we will give clear directions in terms of what is necessary so that there are changes, so that there are improvements, and also including how crime intelligence needs to be positioned such that through it we get the objectives that it exists for. So we're looking at the matter and we regard it as seriously. Do we have concerns? Yes, we have concerns. There are a number of areas that have been identified for that in our discussions, and these are ongoing, as I've said. PC, KZN, well, we're aware of allegations against the PC of KZN that are circulating in social media. We've had a chat with the National Commissioner on this, and National Commissioner will be addressing the media before the end of the week on this and other matters that he will regard as relevant for that particular media briefing. But negative allegations against someone that come in that particular form when you're not in a position to defend yourself other than coming after and reacting after, especially if they are serious, and especially if they are sent to somebody very high in the police echelons, being provincial commissioner, are unfortunate. They are unfortunate in the sense that we need to avoid harming somebody without due regard and without relevance, who has such a huge responsibility in the community. And therefore, it's all unfortunate that these allegations have come in the form that they have, and they will be addressed even though they will be addressed properly, even though they are out there without being channeled properly as we would have loved, that they be channeled properly with evidence and all of that. But of course, we will react to the process in due course. What are my relations or ministry's relations between with the provincial commissioner? These relations are prescribed in law. He reports to the national commissioner, all of them, national. But practically, it's unavoidable that from time to time ministry will talk to commissioners at a provincial level. At that level, it's normal, or from KZN, spend no less than 3 days there, we're talking and getting briefings that are necessary. So working relations are normal, and we'll continue to do so. And the last part is working relations with the National Commissioner. We have normal relations with the National Commissioner, and which I regard as good. But working relations, if they are working relations, it would mean that there would be a part that would concern me as minister and as together with ministry, and on the other hand, National Commissioner will have his own concerns. We will meet. Do we meet? We meet frequently. We talk frequently. We phone each other. Even today, I did call him on some matter. So those relations, he is matured enough, I am matured enough, that we should maintain healthy, very healthy working relations, which doesn't mean that when there are issues that need to be discussed, we avoid that. It won't happen like that. We'll discuss matters as and when they arise and need to be discussed, whatever issues. Thank you.
Thank you. And last.
National Commissioner somewhere.
Thank you very much, SG and colleagues and members of the media. Yes, indeed, the world is baffled about what has happened, about the announcements. We have been fighting the scourge of HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria together for more than 20 years as a global community, and depending very much also on global funding. But on the South African side, as you know, we are running the world's biggest HIV counseling and testing campaign. At 5.5 million people who are on ARVs. No other country comes anywhere near that. The total amount spent in this campaign is 44.4 billion rand. And PEPFAR contributes 17% of it. The rest is mostly our own fiscals and some other funders, like Global Fund. Now, where are we going to be affected? PEPFAR has got a presence and is helping us in 27 districts out of the 52 districts of South Africa. These are the 27 most affected districts in the country. And so the district that will be affected will be 5 in the Eastern Cape, 2 in the Free State, 4 in Gauteng, 7 in KwaZulu-Natal. You'll understand why, because KwaZulu-Natal is the most affected province, 2 in Limpopo, 3 in Mpumalanga, 3 in Northwest, and the Cape Metro in the Western Cape. Now, I got late here as chief because we're still having meetings about this to try and compile to find out exactly how much is the weight of the problem on our shoulders, We had arranged a meeting with the Minister of Finance, which was scheduled for 1 o'clock. Unfortunately, it was postponed. But I must also add, most of the people who are funded from PEPFAR are the ones who told us that they've been written letters to stop because of the review. We as a government, whether DERCO, we checked with them, or health, or treasury, where the monies go, we have not yet received any letter whatsoever. We hear from the clinics, especially vets, where most of the clinics are run under vets. So that's where we are. We will compile and finalize the matter. We'll meet with Treasury. So the information I'm giving you is a stopgap information in the meantime. Thank you very much. Okay, no, holding information, not get.
I think Minister Mtswaledi, Comrade Mtswaledi, have clarified Gareth Cliff this afternoon, because he was one of the people who were making sweeping statements about this aid and support we get globally, as though South Africa from its fiscus was not contributing to the program in the fight against HIV and AIDS in our country. As Yanda, in terms of the Defense Force briefing, it is important, and there have been statements that have been issued. Of course, they are briefing at the right time, because Defense Force doesn't work like anybody. They need time to ascertain the facts and look at their situation and thereafter brief. There are people who passed on, and they need to inform families. There are protocols there, and so on, that they need to follow. But we knew that the briefing was going to come, and probably at a given point in time there will be also the voice of the president. But the minister tomorrow have assured us that he will deal with the details, which I think the media can look forward to that. The problem with South Africa is that people like to jump for things that they don't understand and speak out of turn. Justifiably so, because we are a vibrant constitutional democracy. Things like, is the army equipped? How did it happen that 9 soldiers were killed? Those are the questions the army must deal with. Something went viral that we've got no ammo, we've got no food. It was posted. All of those things must be addressed properly within the sensitivities of the army. But first and foremost, we need to understand that we didn't send our soldiers to war, we sent them to maintain peace. So if we send them to war, you will see grip in them. So if people attack us, we will go this direction of Pretoria in the afternoon. In 30 seconds, everything will done. So the attempts in terms of peace mission that our countries agree to, and those terms include the fact that what armament are you giving in, and all of that. And so that those are the things that need to be looked at in relation to the peace mission. So countries are guided in this regard about that. So I'm happy that you asked a question and you left, so it's fine. But I'm available, I can tell you that, so that we can clarify you later. Maybe you are chasing a story, that's fine. But nonetheless, just to finalize the point, is that there are protocols that govern peacekeeping missions and countries in terms of their contribution. South Africa didn't go to Eastern DRC to fight a war. They went there as a peacekeeping mission. And we'll talk about that. In terms of that peacekeeping mission, The deployment was guided by SADC, Southern African Mission, in the DRC, in accordance with the principle of collective self-defense and collective action outlined in the SADC Mutual Defense Pact of 2003. And that has happened. That has happened in Delgado, in Mozambique. In fact, we are still there in Mozambique. And we are acting there with Rwanda and others to avert that situation. Our soldiers are there. And I'm not sure whether they are back, but they are in Capo Delgado as part of this collective defense pact of 2003 of SADC. So it didn't start now because there are casualties. And the ministry will explain what happened. We were informed, Parliament was informed, and under MONUSCO and Summit DRC, SADC, as well as the AU and the United Nations, this mission was established together with elements of the Congolese army and in the creation of what is called FARDC in Eastern DRC. And our army was part and parcel of that. So we didn't live here with all our artillery to go to war. We went there to maintain peace and join others. And in the process of that, when we're faced with challenges and we get to be attacked, and probably, I don't know, we become a collateral in the conflict, it's a question that we need to address. And this is exactly the point that President Ramaphosa is addressing with the heads of state. Because if we take everything stock and barrel and go to war in the DRC, the question will be relevant. For what? For what? We've got, I was in the Eastern DRC in Goma, which has now been captured by M23. And I met those soldiers there. They had Roy Falk and everything and so on. In that, as part of that particular mission. But we are not there to war. We are there to maintain peace. And all the risks must be looked at. We went to Bangui, Central African Republic. Our soldiers died there. Zuma was the president. And then I see Mojo Mtau, he was the general of the intelligence in the army. He knows these missions are executed in what? And he says, no, we must go to war. War with who? It's wrong, that assertion. War with who? Stock and barrel, army, everything, carry the artillery, Gripen in the air, Roy Falk, to fight who? We went there to join armies, Southern Africa, Tanzania, and Malawi, to maintain peace in Eastern DRC. M23, to repel them. Now, we must have a workshop if we forgot about what is this M23 and why we came to this resolution in the AU and everything else. There are business people in South Africa, it's true, who are doing business in Congo, mining and all of that. South Africa, under Thabo Mbeki as our president, we were here at Luthuli House, working with the Congolese at Shell House to establish government in Congo. There was no government there. Kabila, his father came, and then his son came. We established government. We went to, what is this place? No, we went to Sun City with them to establish government under Kabila. Administration after administration, they've been faced with challenges. And the Great Lakes region, we have been faced with these particular challenges over time, including Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, DRC, and so on. So we have been dealing with this issue in South Africa. And we have had South African business people, black and white, going to Congo for businesses and all of that, it did not need our army to go and protect their interest. We've been in the Eastern DRC for a specific purpose, ethnic cleansing and all of those things that happened. If you remember what happened in Rwanda, and the world was watching, our foreign policy has made a commitment in terms of the African continent that we will work for peace in the context of the institutions, democratic institutions like the African Union and SADC. We will not act on our own. The fact that we have now realized casualties in the DRC, Eastern DRC, it's unfortunate that our soldiers died there, but they are brave. They are brave and they must be celebrated because they died on duty for Pan-Africanist cause that this government have actually embraced. They didn't die there because they were protecting minerals of somebody. Our people